You may proceed.
Good morning, Mr. Kronk.
Good morning, sir.
Would you tell us, please, sir, how you were employed during the summer months of 2008?
I was a meter reader for Orange County, sir,
And how long had you been employed as a meter reader?
since May 27 of '08, sir.
What type of meters did you read?
Water meter, sir.
And did you have an assigned route at that time?
We were assigned the routes the night before, sir.
The night before?
Yes, sir.
Every night before?
We never knew what route we had the next day. It always varied.
And did you have a general area, a district of Orange County that you worked in?
We read all of Orange County, sir.
In August of 2008, sir, did you have occasion to be assigned to read meters out by Hope Springs Drive?
Yes, sir.
And are you familiar, sir, in fact, with the residence of George and Cindy Anthony on Hope Springs Drive?
No, sir.
Did you read all the meters on Hope Springs Drive?
Yes, sir.
Did you also read meters on Suburban Drive,
Yes, sir.
a master meter at the school?
Yes, sir.
And do you remember on the day of August the 11th, who, if anyone, may have been with you when you were reading meters in that area?
At the time, nobody, sir.
You went out there by yourself on August the 11th of 2008?
I started the route, yes, sir, by myself.
Did somebody join you out there on that day?
Late in the afternoon, two of my coworkers joined me, sir.
And who would they be?
I believe it was David Dean and Chris. I don't remember his last name.
Do you remember specifically that date, August the 11th, 2008?
Yes, sir.
What particularly about that date do you remember, sir?
Finding a dead rattlesnake, sir?
I'm asking you what you particularly remember about that date.
Nothing really, sir.
Mr. Kronk, on August the 11th of 2008, did you stop your county vehicle on Suburban Drive?
Yes, sir.
Did you exit at that time and go into the wooded area in order to relieve yourself?
Yes, sir.
Is that something you customarily did?
Whenever we really didn't have bathroom facilities, sir, so you just went wherever you knew that was private to do what you had to do, sir.
Do you know where the nearest gas station facility is to Suburban Drive?
I believe the shopping center at the end of the road, sir.
Now, prior to that particular day, were you aware of the saga unfolding in the search for little Caylee Marie Anthony?
Yes, sir.
Were you watching news reports on this subject matter frequently?
No, sir.
Did you have a roommate?
Yes, sir.
Did your roommate watch television and news reports about this search?
Yes, sir.
Did you discuss that situation with your roommate on a daily basis?
No, sir.
How often?
Not very often, sir.
When you went to Suburban Drive on August the 11th, sir, were you aware at that time where the Anthony residence was in relation to where you stopped to relieve yourself?
It was the first time I read the route, so not really, sir, no.
And on that particular day, sir, did you have anything unusual occur to you while you were relieving yourself?
No, sir.
Did you go into the woods?
long enough to do what I had to do and come straight out.
Did you see or do anything else in the woods then besides just relieve yourself and walk straight out?
I looked around, sir.
What, if anything, did you find when you looked around, sir?
I saw a object that appeared a little odd to me.
Did you, on that date and time and place, sir, see a bag that appeared suspicious to you?
I really didn't see a bag per se, sir. No.
Did you lift a bag, sir?
No, sir.
And on that particular date and time, sir, did you see a skull, a human skull, a small human skull?
I was never closer than 20 to 30 feet from the object, and I did see something that appeared to me to look like something of that nature. Yes, sir.
And, sir, did you make any exclamation about what you saw and found? That is, did you say anything else to anybody?
No, sir. We found a dead rattlesnake, and that pretty much took up the rest of the afternoon.
Did you, when you went in to relieve yourself, sir, were you aware that Mr. Dean was there?
Yes, sir. I believe so.
And is it your testimony, sir, that when you went into the woods, that then and there you did not specifically see a skull?
No, sir.
Then is it also your testimony that you did not then and there say something to Mr. Dean that you had seen a skull?
Not at that time, no, sir.
And did he, that is, Mr. Dean, come to where you were, walk from the truck to where you were?
No, sir.
Did Mr. Dean step on a apparently deceased rattlesnake?
No, sir.
Did Mr. Dean have any occasion somehow to get the shovel from his truck and pick up a rattlesnake?
Yes, sir.
And that was there and then at that time on August 11th, 2008?
Yes, sir.
And did you have conversation with him during that process that you had just seen a skull?
I told him that I saw something that looked odd to me, but they were completely enthralled with the dead rattlesnake, sir.
Did you tell him, sir, that you saw a skull?
I told him I saw an object that looked like a skull. I never told him I saw one.
Okay. What did you and Mr. Dean do next, sir?
Went back to the office and showed everybody the dead rattlesnake.
Did everybody come out and take pictures of the dead rattlesnake?
I believe so.
Did you then just go home?
Yes, sir.
Did you call the sheriff's department or any other law enforcement agency to report that you had seen what might be a skull?
Yes, sir.
Did you speak to somebody?
I originally called Orange County, and they told me that they were not handling those phone calls, and I needed to call Crime Line, sir.
Did you call Crime Line?
Yes, sir.
Did anybody respond to you after you made the call about maybe finding a skull?
No, sir.
So did you tell them that you had maybe found this skull on Suburban Drive?
No, sir. I told him I saw an object that looked like that, sir.
And did you mention to anybody that it was in the vicinity of the Anthony residence?
No, sir.
So it's your testimony that despite the fact you called and you said you may have found a skull, there was no response except call Crime Line?
Yes, sir.
Did anybody from any law enforcement agency come and talk to you on that day?
No, sir.
Did you work the next day, August the 12th of 2008?
Yes, sir.
Were you reading meters?
Yes, sir.
Where was your route on that day?
I don't remember, sir.
On the 12th of August of 2008, did you have occasion, sir, to call anybody from law enforcement again about the maybe skull?
No, sir.
What did you do on that day?
I read my route, I went home.
So you worked as usual. You may have seen a skull. You pick up a dead rattlesnake. You call law enforcement, and the next day it's just back to work as usual.
Yes, sir.
And on the 13th of August, 2008, sir, did you call the sheriff's department again?
Yes, sir.
And did you report, in fact, that you had seen a skull there off Suburban Drive?
I was told to call and an officer would meet me out there.
Sir?
I was told to call and an officer would meet me out there, sir.
And on August the 13th of 2008, then an officer from the Orange County Sheriff's Department, in fact, meet you on Suburban Drive.
2 of them came out, yes, sir.
Do you remember who they were?
I believe it was Officer Kane, and I don't believe I remember the woman's name that was out as well.
And did you take those officers into the woods to show them where you had seen this maybe skull?
I never said it was a baby skull, sir, and no, sir, I did not take them into the woods.
Maybe a skull. I'm
excuse me.
sorry. That's my fault.
Oh, sorry. No, I never took them into the woods, sir.
They didn't ask you, Mr. Kronk, show us where this skull is that the world is looking for?
No, sir.
And what did you do then?
I pointed, we never went into the woods. We were standing out in front, and I just pointed in the area where I believed I had seen it, sir.
All right. Now let's go back over this and see if we can help you. On August 11th of 2008, sir, you did indeed call 911, did you?
No, I never called 911, sir.
Would it help refresh your recollection, sir, if I was to show you a transcript of the call August 11th, 2008 to 911 by you?
I live in Osceola County, sir. I called Orange County, so I did not call 911. I called the dispatch in Orange County.
Counsel, Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
You may.
Counsel, Bates stamp 3144, August 11th, 2008. Counsel is helping me on this. So did you call a non-emergency line?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did you tell that non-emergency line that you were a meter reader with Orange County?
Yes, sir.
Did you tell them that you had a route today that included the Anthony's home?
Yes, sir.
So you did know that the route included the Anthony's home?
When I took the route in the morning, sir, I did not know that I had the Anthony's route.
And sir, did you tell the operator that you were down there by the school and then came back? And on the left-hand side coming back, I noticed something that looks white, and there was like a gray bag down in there. You remember telling them that?
Yes, sir.
You remember telling them your words, I don't know what it is. I'm not telling you it's, it's Caylee or anything of that nature. You remember that discussion?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. And did you describe the area that you were talking about? The area off Suburban Drive?
Yes, sir. I told them the general area it was, sir.
Did you tell them that there were 2 little in areas that you can go in and there's a big long tree laying down?
Yes, sir.
And there's a lot of swamp back in there. Well, back behind one of the trees down there was a gray bag. And then a little bit further up that, I saw something white. Did you tell them that?
Yes, sir.
And when you told them that, sir, was that the truth?
Yes, sir.
So you had seen a fallen tree, a gray bag, and something right close to that white? Yes?
I was never any closer than 30 feet, sir. I told him, described as best I could what I had seen that day.
But you saw, you say, which you told the operator, a gray bag by a fallen tree in those woods with something white by it that you thought was a skull.
I said it appeared to be that, yes, sir.
On the following day, you called again, as we said, right, on August the 12th?
Yes, sir.
You did call on that day.
Yes, sir.
That's the second day.
Yes, sir.
You told them, I went down, I had to take and I went down there, was behind one of the trees, was a gray vinyl-like bag, like a pool cover or something like that, and it looked rather suspicious. I didn't touch anything. Do you remember saying that?
Yes, sir.
And, sir, you were having more detail. You said there's a fallen tree that looks like someone had tried to cut on it at one point, but there was a white board hanging across the tree, and there was...
I'm going to object to Mr. Mason reading from a document, not in evidence.
I'm asking him if he said it.
Sustained.
Did you, sir, tell the operator that there was a tree that looked like somebody had cut on it?
Yes, sir.
Did you tell the operator there was a white board leaning against the tree?
Your Honor, I'm going to object. He's doing the same thing. He's reading from a document that's not in evidence.
Answer the question, please, sir.
Yes, sir.
Did you tell them there was something round and white underneath it?
I don't remember, sir. Hang on just a second, Your Honor. There's so many of these things. On August the 10th of 2008, sir, well, that's got to be there. Strike that. Did you draw a map for the law enforcement officers as to where you had been? On what day, sir?
Forget that date, any date. Did you draw a map?
Yes, sir.
And did you, when you drew that map, sir, draw in the privacy fence that extended from the last house on the corner of Suburban Drive and and Hope Springs Road?
I don't remember, sir.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
Bates stamp, page 3992. Do you recognize that document, Mr. Kronk?
Yes, sir.
Did you draw it?
Yes, sir.
And is that a fair and accurate representation of what you remember at the time and that you drew 3 years ago?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to offer what is now marked as Defense Exhibit FI in evidence.
We can identify when that was drawn. I would have no objection.
Your signature on this document, sir?
Yes, sir.
Is there a date below it?
Yes, sir.
What does it say?
12/17/08, sir.
12/17/08. Offer that.
Be received in evidence as defense exhibit number
Number 66.
Your Honor,
You may.
if I can.
I do it.
Maybe it works better that way. Yeah, I see. Mr. Kronk, you see where you've labeled this fence here?
Yes, sir.
Is that a wooden privacy fence that comes from the last house?
I believe so, sir.
And then you drew right off the end of that an area. Can you tell us what you're seeing there, please, sir?
Well, the line represents the water. The line with the little thing sticking up represents the tree. And that was down, and then I believe where the X is about in the area where I saw where I was, sir. What I believed what I saw, sir. Actually, no, because the bag is, I just looked at that. No, the X next to the board is where I saw what I saw, sir.
My fingers won't hurt it. Could you show me on there, sir, where the tree with the board is? You touch it.
Oh, no, sir, right there.
And the bag, sir, relative to the tree?
Where that X is. There you go.
And the white round object that you think was a skull, where was that?
It would have been where the X was, sir.
The jury been able to see all that? Do you know, sir, or can you remember approximately how far from the edge of the road that find that you made was?
No, sir.
Can you see the edge of the road, sir, as you drew it?
Yes, sir.
Would you touch that also? And on the 13th of August 2008, neither of these two responding deputies went with you to that spot?
I never took him to that spot, sir.
When you were in that area on August the 11th and 13th, sir, did you smell anything peculiar?
No, sir.
Did you in any way lift a bag?
No, sir.
When you went into that area, sir, had the thought crossed your mind that you might be looking for Caylee?
Would you please clarify what date are we talking about? Are we talking
August.
about August or are we talking about December?
August the 11th, 2008,
I
when you
never-
first went in there.
Excuse me, I never went into the woods on August 11th, sir.
You didn't go in the woods to relieve yourself on August the 11th?
We've already established that, but after that, no, sir, I never went back into the woods.
Did you tell any of the, or either of the deputies that you had found a bag that you thought may have bones in it?
No, sir.
Specifically, sir, did you tell Deputy Richard Kane that you think the bag has bones in it?
I told him I saw an object what appeared to me to look like a skull.
But did you tell him, sir, that the bag looked like it had bones in it?
No, sir.
And the bag you found was on dry land, was it? Not in water?
Once again, what date are you speaking about?
August the 11th,
I-
2008.
Sir, I never was any closer to that bag than 30 feet. I never went into the woods. I just saw it from the outside of the veil of the trees.
Yep. The area on August 11th that you went into the woods, was it dry or the ground? Was it dry or underwater?
It was dry.
At the time that you were in those woods on that occasion, sir, were you aware of there being a reward offered for the finding of Caylee?
I believe so.
Pardon?
I believe so.
And you believe that reward to be $255,000?
Something like that, sir, yes.
And on that date of August the 11th, that you've described that you saw something and have described it as you have to this jury, were you aware that right around the corner on Hope Springs were a whole lot of media trucks
Yes, sir.
and people?
Yes, sir.
Did you go and tell anybody that you had found what looked like a skull and bag of bones?
No, sir.
Anything like that to anybody other than Mr. Dean?
I never said I found a bag of bones, sir. I
Okay.
never said that.
Did you tell anybody that, sir, you found what looked like a skull? Did you tell anybody other than Mr. Dean?
I never said I found that, sir. I said I saw something that appeared to look like that.
And did you go tell anybody else that you found something that appeared to look like that?
A roommate.
Your roommate. But none of all those media trucks that were there, or none of all the people in the area?
No, sir.
And on that date, in fact, sir, did you describe to anyone that what you saw appeared to be white, looked like the top of a skull sticking out of a bag?
Yes, sir.
And was, sir, the bag that you saw in August of 2008 the same plastic bag that you saw in December the 11th, 2008?
I wouldn't know, sir.
Do you believe it's the same bag?
I wouldn't know.
You recall, sir, having your deposition taken on July the 30th of 2010 at the state attorney's office in the adjoining building right down here, where Miss Linda Drain Burdick was present, Mr. Jose Baez was present, Ms. Michelle Medina was present, and I was present, and your lawyer, David Evans, was present. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
Counsel, court, I direct you to page 18. Question on line 19. The question to you, sir, at that time was, do you believe the bag you saw in August is ultimately the same plastic bag that you saw in December? Answer, yes, sir. Do you remember the question and answer?
Yes, sir.
Were you attempting to tell the truth at that time?
I was told that it was the same bag, so yes, sir. I never came to that conclusion on my own.
You were told it was the same bag?
Well, not really. That was a bad way. I shouldn't have said that. No, sir. I don't know. I really just, I don't remember. If I said yes, then yes, it is.
After you found that skull at that time and place, sir, did you try to get your co-workers to go with you to look at it?
What date are we speaking of?
August the 11th in 2008.
I tried to point it out to them, sir.
So you did talk to them about thinking you saw a skull.
I told them I saw a white object, they saw the dead snake, and everything from that point out became about the dead snake.
And on that same depositions we just identified, going to page 19, the question on line 19. See if you remember this. So what did you do upon seeing the skull? Answer, I tried to get the two guys that were with me to look at it, but they were too busy playing with the dead snake. You remember that question and answer?
Yes, sir.
This would be a good place to stop, Mr. Mason.
Yes, sir.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the time is now 12 o'clock. We're going to be in recess until 1:30. I'm going to ask that you not discuss this case among yourselves nor with anyone else. And please remember all of my previous admonitions. We'll be in recess until 1:30. Any additional instructions on behalf of the state or the defense? We'll be in. Okay, state recognized persons of jury. Defense.
Yes, sir.
And members of the jury, did you heed all my previous admonitions during the recess? Mr. Mason, you may continue, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Kronk, we had, before we broke, talked briefly about the calls that you made to the authorities on August the 11th, 12th, and 13th. Do you remember those questions, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, in fact, sir, did you advise the operator on the 12th that you had been in the woods and you had looked down and saw a skull?
No, sir.
You did not. All right. Your Honor, we have stipulations before the court.
You may.
And based on the stipulation, we will now offer into evidence Defense Exhibit FJ, which is August 11th, and FK, which is August the 12th, and FL, which is August the 13th.
There are written stipulations as to those, and I have no objection.
Okay, you want me to read all three? Or just two of them? I got one for August 11th, 12th, and 13th.
Did you just?
You offered two tapes, right?
That was 12th.
Three, okay. You gonna publish them all now?
Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, let me read you the following stipulation between the state of Florida and the defendant. On August 11th, 2008, Roy Kronk made a recorded call to 911 that was received by the Orange County Sheriff's Office at 16:28 hours. The recording is a true and accurate representation of the call. The parties have agreed to this fact, and it shall be considered as true in your deliberations, bearing the signatures of Linda Drain Burdick, Jose Baez, and Miss Caylee Anthony. Second stipulation. On August 12th, 2008, Roy Kronk made a recorded call to 911 that was received by the Orange County Sheriff's Office at 21:03 hours. The recording is a true and accurate representation of the call. The parties have agreed to this fact, and it should be considered as true in your deliberations, bearing the signatures of Linda Drain Burdick, Jose Baez, and Caylee Marie Anthony. Last stipulation. On August 13th, 2008, Roy Kronk made a recorded call to 911 that was received by the Orange County Sheriff's Office at 15:14 hours. The recording is a true and accurate representation of the call. The parties have agreed to this fact, and it should be considered as true in your deliberations, bearing the signatures of Linda Drain Burdick, Jose Baez, and Caylee Marie Anthony. Madam Clerk, would you announce the exhibit numbers, please?
FJ will become Defense Exhibit number 67, FK will become Defense Exhibit number 68, and FL will become Defense Exhibit number 69.
We'd like to publish those at this time. I believe they're queued up, ready to go.
Hi, I don't have it. I called the non-emergency line and somehow
How can I help you, sir?
I'm a meter reader with Orange County, and I had the route today that included the Anthony's home.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I went down to the school and came back, and when I was coming back, I stopped between the two swamp areas there. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about or not.
No, but go ahead.
But there's a stretch of road there that goes from like where the start of the road is down to a school, and in between it on either side there's a swamp. And if you're heading back out towards the main road on the left-hand side, in an area, I noticed something that looked white, and there was like a gray bag down in there. I don't know what it is. I'm not telling you it's Caylee or anything of that nature. But I just thought,
do you know what street Anthony Home is on?
Yeah, it's on Good Hope, isn't it?
Okay, Good Homes, and what's the nearest intersecting street?
It's the one that comes off of, isn't that? It's like Suburban or something like that?
Hold on, I just want to bring up the map. Hold on.
Because I just read that. That's the route I had today to read the meters on.
Hold on.
And this could be nothing.
I don't find Good Homes intersecting with Suburban anywhere.
What does it intersect with?
Oh, my God. All kinds.
No, there's Shinobi, like 3 roads it intersects with.
Good Homes Road?
Yeah.
Oh,
Does Anthony live off of? It's back in that little subdivision. There's like a elementary school or something back there.
You don't know what the name of it is?
Oh, God, no. It's in my GPS, though. Might be able to pull it up. Hold on. Do you see a, something? No. Hold on, let me go pull my GPS up. Coming up now.
I'm looking at the phone book.
Loading maps. All right, hold on. Should be up in a second. 3 or 2.
Is it Anthony House on Holly Street in Zellwood?
No, it should Suburban Drive. It's like the school's 8701 Suburban Drive, but it's actually at the end of the road, not at the beginning of the road. And that's where and their road comes off of Suburban Drive. And I work over at the Curry Ford, at the headquarters there at Curry Ford, and we were over there reading that today. And,
okay, I have the map now, okay?
Yeah.
8701 Suburban is in Chickasaw Oak Subdivision.
Yeah, that's
the nearest intersecting street is Chickasaw and Lumberton.
Right. If you go down that road, that's where the school's at. In between from where you can get onto their road at and down, there's a swamp area. If you're heading towards the school on the right and left, if you're heading towards the school, it'll be on your right-hand side. And there's like a big swamp area there, and we found a dead 4-foot eastern diamond rattle back there, but that's not really the thing. There's like 2 little in areas you can go, and there's a big long tree laying down, and there's a lot of swamp back in there. Well, back behind one of the trees down there was a gray bag, and then a little bit further up than that, I saw something white. But after I saw that 4-foot eastern diamond rattlesnake, I'm not going in that crap.
Okay, so if you're going on Suburban,
you're heading down towards the school.
Okay, and it's after Chickasaw on the right-hand side?
Yeah, there's the road kind of stops, and then there's like this, you go down, and there's a 6-foot tall fence on the left-hand side, and then the right-hand side's open heading towards the school, and it's all swamp area on both sides. And it would be on the right-hand side that I saw what I saw.
Okay, I'll let them know.
I appreciate you, and once again, I had no idea what it was, so, and I don't want to waste any more of the county's money, but I'm just telling you I saw something.
Not a problem.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Sheriff's Office?
Yeah, hi. My name is Roy Kronk. I'm a meter reader with Orange County. Yesterday, I read the Anthony's route. We got done, and I went down. You know where the school is down there at the bottom of Suburban?
Mm-hmm.
I called this in yesterday. I don't know if this is what y'all looked at today or not, but on the way back up, I stopped in the middle there where there's a swamp. If you're coming out, there would be a fence on the right-hand side, and just open, swamp area on the left-hand side. I went down, I went down, and there behind one of the trees was a gray vinyl bag, like a pool cover or something like that. And it looked rather suspicious. I didn't touch anything. And then a little bit further up, you can tell where someone ran across with a mower, but the weeds are still real high in that area. There's a fallen tree that looks someone had tried to cut on it at one point. But there was a white board hanging across the tree, and there was something round and white underneath of it. And I don't know what it is, but it just didn't look like something that should be there.
Can I have some cross streets, please?
There is no cross streets. If you turn on Suburban, go down past, the first street, go down past the second street, where the road turns in and goes to their home. If you go all the way down to the end of Suburban, there's a school down there.
Okay, Suburban and where, sir?
So, off of Chickasaw. Yeah, it's right by their house, man. You go in off of Chickasaw, you go down Suburban, you'll pass, Lamberton? Is the first one, and then the second one is Hope Springs, and then if you go all the way down, there's a school there. As you're going down to the school, you're going to hit a wooded area. If you're going towards school on your left-hand side...
What's the name of the school, sir?
It's just the elementary school there. I don't know. I just read the meter at it yesterday. I just, look for my meter number. I really don't pay attention to the rest of it. But if you go down there, there's a swamp on the left-hand side, and there's a fence, about a 6-foot-high fence there. On the other side of the road, there is another swamp right there, and that's where the gray bag is, a little bit down more towards the school, and then the area is all right in there. That's also where we found a dead 4-foot eastern diamondback rattlesnake, and that's why I didn't go any further into the swamp.
Okay, Roy, what's your phone number?
My cell number is 321-987-6542. I work for Orange County Utilities.
Okay, sir. I'm going to send this call up. I'm going to take a look for the bag. I also have another phone number that I need you to dial. If the phone number is set up for anything doing with the Caylee investigation.
Oh, what, the tip line?
Yes, sir.
I really rather would not, being a county employee and all that. That's why I'm talking to you all.
You can still do it, regardless if you're a county employee. You can remain anonymous.
Not if they find a freaking body.
Yes, sir. You can still remain anonymous if they do find a corpse.
Okay.
Because we definitely need you to contact the number because all information is compiled there. And if anything does come up out of it, we'll see who else has also called about it and put it all together.
Okay.
Please do that. Do you have the phone number?
What is it? Go ahead.
1-800. 423.
All right, hold on a second. 423.
Tips.
All right, boss.
Thank you, Roy. I really appreciate it.
Not a problem, man. Bye.
Sheriff's Office, how can I help you?
Yeah, it's Hidden Oaks Elementary School.
Okay. How can I help you?
Yeah, my name is Roy Kronk. I'm a meter reader with Orange County. I had the Caylee's route Monday, and there's an area in between where Suburban ends down at Hidden Oaks Elementary. There's a swamp area that I saw something that I called in a tip the other day, and they said they would dispatch an officer out to me when I got there. And I'm here.
Your name?
My name is Roy. Last name is Kronk, K-R-O-N-K.
Let me have your phone number.
321-987-6542.
And exactly where are they going to meet you? On Suburban and West?
I'm in between. I'm not near any of the roads. I'm just in a swampy area that's between where the Anthony's Road start and and Hidden Oaks. There's no streets here. It's just swamp on either side of the road.
Okay, can you go back to the intersection of Suburban and Hope Spring and wait for them there? Is that the nearest intersecting street to where you are?
Yeah, if they come around the corner, they can see me sitting here.
Okay, so you're right past Hope Springs.
Right, yeah. I'm sitting facing the road in the opposite direction, and I'm in a blue four-door Cavalier.
All right. I'll have somebody out there as soon as I can.
All right, thank you.
You have a good day, sir.
You too, bye.
Bye-bye.
Mr. Kronk, do you remember those calls, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, after you made the call on the 11th, what did you do?
That was the second day, sir?
That was the first day. What did you do
nothing.
after you made the call?
Nothing.
Well, did you go home and lay out by the pool or relax or what?
The call wasn't made until about 9:30 at night, sir.
What did you do after you made the call?
Nothing, sir.
Nothing.
Yes,
Went
sir.
home
I was already at home, sir.
and went to bed? That's it?
Probably watched a little television and then went to bed, sir.
Okay. And on the next day, the 12th, when you called, you just heard that again.
Yes, sir.
And after you made that call, what did you do?
Watched a little television and went to bed. That call was also made after 9 p.m.
All right, sir. After any of those calls were made, do you recall making a statement on January the 6th under oath to Corporal Uri Melich?
No.
You remember January the 6th, 2009, sir, giving a recorded statement to Corporal Uri Melich when your counsel, Mr. David Evans, behind us was there, and Eric Edwards. You remember doing that?
I don't mean to be rude, sir, but you're being a little vague. You're saying a recorded statement. I went with Mr. Evans to the police office, and we sat down and we had a conversation with Mr. Mellish. I do remember that.
On January the 6th, 2009, at 15:30 hours, that's 3:30 in the afternoon,
Yes, sir.
you and your attorney went and gave a statement to Uri Melich under oath, did you not?
I believe so, yes.
And do you remember being asked specifically about your crime line calls?
Yes, sir.
And do you remember being asked whether you had been on the street before?
Yes, sir.
Did you just hear your calls saying that you had read the meters on the Anthony's house street?
Yes, sir.
So you knew where the Anthony house was, didn't you?
At the end of the day, yes, sir. At the beginning of the day, no, sir.
On the 11th of August, sir, the first day you called, did you have any conversation with your coworkers about the area and that being a suspicious place, maybe to hide a body, any kind of conversation like that at all?
We were all discussing that, yes, sir.
You all were discussing whether that would be a place to go and look.
Mr. Dean said something to that effect, yes, sir.
And so you did.
No, I had already thought that before he ever said anything.
You thought it first.
Yes, sir.
Did you and Mr. Dean ever have an argument about whose idea it was first?
Yeah, he said it was his, but I didn't agree with him.
He said it was his idea to search those woods first, and you said, no, it was mine, Roy's idea.
I had already thought of it before he verbalized it. I don't verbalize things of that nature,
All right.
sir.
And you told us earlier, sir, that I think your words were it may have been a skull or looked like a skull that you saw on that day.
Yes, sir.
And did you tell Corporal Melich, page 6, bait stamp 5615, starting at line 9, that you were 99.999% sure it was a skull?
Yes, sir, but I also stated that I did not know what it was made of. It could have been a prop. It could have been something ceramic bought at a flea market. I also stated I had no idea what it was, but yes, sir, it did look like a human skull to me.
Did you tell him at that point in time, I carry on here at page, line 11, and honestly, it was a hot day. I just wanted to go home. I wanted to take a shower. I wanted to, drink a soda, relax, and get in the pool.
Yes, sir.
And on the next day, you called again, as we heard.
Yes, sir.
Did you work on that day as well?
Yes, sir.
Same route?
No, sir.
On the 13th, when deputies responded, you remember who you talked to?
I believe it's Officer Kane, I believe.
Anybody else besides Kane?
I told you this morning that there was a female there, but I never got her name.
Okay. And sir, Did you tell them that you had looked down to see the skull?
When I meant down, I was as far from here to that corner there. I was at a height above what the object was, so I was looking down at it from a distance.
Did you point out to Deputy Kane where you were looking down at the skull?
I pointed in the general area where it was, yes, sir.
And did you get within 6 to 8 feet of it and point down to him?
No, sir.
You remember that same statement to Melich and Company?
Yes, sir.
And in that statement, did you tell anybody that you got within 6 to 8 feet of this skull?
No, sir.
Did you watch Deputy Kane go into the woods to look?
Yes, sir. Sorry.
Did you see him get close to where you had seen the skull?
Am I allowed to say this? Am I allowed to say what happened?
Did you see Deputy Kane get close to where you
Deputy
said?
Kane went down to the water line, did this, walked back up the bank, slipped on the mud, and then chewed me out for a half an hour. It was exactly what happened.
Did he get within 6 to 8 feet, sir, of the area you said you saw the skull?
No, sir.
Well, same sworn statement, page 8, page 5617. You were asked by Corporal Melich, how close did he get to this object that you pointed out? Your answer was, well, I'm sorry, strike that. If I was, for the sake of argument, 8 feet away from that, he might have been 6 feet away from it.
Well, if that's what I said, then that's what it was.
So you were 8 feet away and he was 6 feet away?
That was 3 years ago, sir. From what you said, if that's what I said, that's what it was.
Well, you pointed to the corner of this room back over here. That's a good deal more than 6 or 8 feet, isn't it?
Once again, on the first day, the 10th, I was from here to that corner to where the object was. I did not go back to that area until the 11th. No, on the 12th, excuse me. Whatever the day that Officer Kane came out was the day that was the first time that I had been back to that area since the first day.
And later on in that conversation about where things were, so were you asked and did you discuss now how sure you were that there was a skull that you saw?
I don't recall that, but it's possible.
On page 12, page 5621, Corporal Edwards asks you, so on a scale of 1 to 10, let's even,
I don't have the document. I need to see it.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I do not have the document which you're talking about, so I need to see it before I can rule. Approach along with the courtroom. You may.
Well, you look at this statement by last identified sir, see if that refreshes your recollection as to how sure you were about it being a skull.
Yes, sir, but as I stated, I did not know what it was made of.
Did you tell the authorities under oath on that date, time, and place that you were 100% certain that it was a skull?
No, sir, I believe I said 99.99. Okay.
Again, sir.
Highlighted area.
Right there.
Okay.
Did you tell those authorities at that time and place under oath that you were 100% certain it was a skull? Yes or no?
Yes.
Now, Mr. Kronk, after the 13th, and you're meeting the detectives out there, did you go back or do anything with the authorities prior to December of 2008, after
No,
the
sir.
body was found?
No, sir.
Were you involved in any capacity with this investigation?
No, sir.
Did you go on Good Morning America show?
Yes, sir.
When did you do that?
It was in January, but I don't remember the exact date, sir.
And did you get paid for doing that?
I was paid for a licensed picture of a snake, but I knew that there would probably be an interview involved, so.
Were you paid $15,000 for doing that, sir?
I was paid $15,000 for a licensed picture of the snake, sir.
Did you collect money from Crime Line?
Yes, sir.
$5,000?
Yes, sir.
Did Orange County pay for your lawyer? Still doing so today?
No, sir.
Orange County did not pay for your lawyer?
My Orange County paid for my attorney until I was terminated, and then they stopped paying him, sir.
Mr. Evans sitting here?
Sustain.
Now, after these initial involvements, sir, have you been questioned about your conversations with others, such as Mr. Dean and other officers?
Yes, sir, I believe so.
Let's just take the stack in which I found him. Do you have a son named Brandon Sparks?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember calling him around Thanksgiving of 2008?
No, sir, that phone call never happened.
Pardon?
That phone call never happened, sir.
Well, you know what phone call I'm talking about?
I never called my son on that date, sir.
Did you call your son anytime in November and tell him that you were soon to be famous?
No,
Or
sir.
words to that effect.
Sorry, excuse me. No, sir.
You did not do that.
No, sir.
Well, I'll strike that. Between August 13th and December the 11th, did you ever go back out to Suburban Drive in that time frame?
Only when I had that route, sir, but I never stopped at that area ever again.
Did you have occasions to drive by the Anthony residence?
No, sir.
Did you get out of the car again and have any curiosity about the area where you had seen the skull?
No, sir.
After Deputy Kane met you there on the 13th, and you say he chewed you out,
Yes, sir.
did any law enforcement officer thereafter ask to look into or inspect your vehicle in any way?
No, sir.
Was a cadaver dog ever taken to inspect, nose around, whatever, your vehicle?
No, sir.
Were you ever asked to submit any samples of DNA?
No, sir.
to your knowledge, was there any other investigation about you by the detectives?
I really don't know, sir.
Do you know whether or not they subpoenaed your phone records, sir?
He has no knowledge of any investigation done on him.
Overruled, can answer the question.
I remember allowing Mr. Mellish to take a photograph, if you will, of my phone when Mr. Evans and I were in his office, but other than that, no, sir.
You did not know your phone records had been subpoenaed by
No,
the law enforcement?
No, sir.
Were you ever questioned by them about your phone records? Who you called, who you got calls from?
No, sir.
Did you have no contact whatsoever with any of these people between August the 13th and December the 11th?
What people are,
What people?
Sustain, rephrase the question.
Detective Melich, Detective Allen, Edwards, FBI Savage, FBI McEllier, any of the law enforcement people that you met?
between what dates again, sir?
August the 13th and December the 11th, 2008.
No, sir.
Okay. Well, let's move ahead then and talk about December the 11th. Were you on this same route again?
Yes, sir.
Reading meters?
Yes, sir.
Read Anthony's meter on Hope Spring?
I did not get that far, sir.
Go back to the site on Suburban Drive where you said that you had seen a skull on August the 11th.
Yes, sir, I guess so.
Did you go by yourself?
Yes, sir.
Did you go into the woods?
Yes, sir.
Were you searching again when you went in the woods?
No, sir.
On December the 11th of 2008, sir, did you find what turned out to be the remains of Caylee Marie Anthony?
Yes, sir.
And did you find those remains the same place you had last seen them, or were they somewhere else?
I had never been to where that bag was, so I would have no idea, sir.
Well, now, you've told us about seeing a bag and seeing the skull, and then you drew a map, which we have presented.
Yes, sir.
When you went on December the 11th, were the remains, including the skull, the same place that you had seen them in August, or had they been moved?
I cannot answer that question, sir. It was, in August, it was flooded. December, it wasn't. It was much more grown up in August. It was much less in December. I have no idea.
Did you ever, after August the 13th and prior to December the 11th, renew contact with law enforcement to ask what's going on with finding the skull that I found in August?
No, sir.
You just let it go?
Yes, sir.
And when you went in on August the 11th, sir, you said to us you saw the bag and the skull. We went through that. When you went back on December the 11th, you see the same bag?
No, sir.
Same skull?
I would have no idea, sir.
And when you went back in there on December the 11th, sir, and you saw this skull, did you do anything with your meter reader stick?
Yes, sir. I was standing behind it, so I was looking at it from behind, and I still didn't think it was real. So I very gently took it and put it into the right eye socket, and I gently pivoted it up, and I looked down, and I realized what it was, and I set it down as gently as I could and went up and called my area supervisor.
And for the record, your meter reader stick, would you describe what it is, please, sir?
It's just a piece of metal about 4.5, 5 feet long with a curved end, and then we tape it up on the end of ourselves to make it more comfortable to carry.
For lifting lids of meters in the ground?
Yes, sir.
And it's your testimony that you put that stick in the eye socket of this skull and lifted it up to be sure what it was?
Yes, sir, and I apologize for doing so, but like I said, I did not know what it was.
And then you put it back?
Yes, sir.
There's no question in your mind that you lifted it up with the stick to look at it?
I gently pivoted it up. I never took it off of the ground, sir.
Well, it wasn't stuck in the mud, was it?
No, sir.
Wasn't stuck in anything, was it?
After finding what I found, the shock of it, I just really can't tell you. I mean, that was a very horrific thing for me to find, obviously.
And after you did that, sir, did you call your boss or 911?
I called my area supervisor.
You didn't call crime line?
No, sir.
You didn't call 911?
No, sir.
You went back to your vehicle?
Yes, sir.
You called your supervisor and said what?
I told him that I needed him there immediately, that I had found a human skull.
And did you say where you were?
Alex had been with me on the first, that route is actually a 3-section route, and Alex had been with me right up into the end of the first section, and so I can't remember if I told him where I was or not.
Who was that supervisor that you spoke to?
Alex.
No last name?
I'm horrible with names, sir.
Did you then hear discussions on the utilities radio about what was going on without telling us what they were?
I pretty much tuned all that out.
Did Deputy Sheriff show up pretty quickly?
I believe so.
Do you remember who you talked to first from the Sheriff's Department?
No, sir.
Did you ask one of the deputies that arrived if you were still entitled to the $225,000 or $55,000 reward?
No, sir.
Do you have any discussions about that entitlement to reward at all?
I really don't remember, to be honest with you.
You remember one of the deputy sheriff's name was Pamela Porter?
No, sir, I don't remember any names from that day. Well, other than Detective Malish, but other than that, no, sir.
Did you ask that female deputy if you were still being entitled to the reward if that's the baby and she's dead?
I might have, I honestly don't remember.
Did you also tell Deputy Porter that you wanted to keep it quiet so your ex-wife wouldn't find out about the money?
I might have said that jokingly.
Did you talk with Pamela Porter about why the sheriff's department had not done anything when you had called before in August?
I probably did because I was still upset about that time.
You were upset still in December about them not doing anything in August?
I just simply tried to do the right thing, and for my efforts to try and help and be a good citizen, I basically got chewed out for half an hour and was just called horrendous things, and yeah, I was still pretty pissed off by that.
You were angry with the sheriff's department?
No, I'll never be angry with the sheriff's department. It wasn't their responsibility. One person doesn't do, make a whole department, sir.
You were just in general anger because nobody believed you about finding the skull in August.
And asking for speculation as to what
Sustained.
another person did or didn't.
Were you angry, sir, that you apparently were not believed?
No, sir.
You remember talking to, in fact, your supervisor, Alex Roberts? on
Yes,
that
sir.
day?
Excuse me, yes, sir.
Did you talk to him about the fact you were going to get a reward?
I think we were jokingly talking about it, but it wasn't serious at that time.
Did joke include talking about having won the lotto?
I can't remember if that was said or if it was said that I should play the lotto that day.
And did you also tell him that you didn't want your ex-wife to find out about the money?
Alex was aware of the problems that I was having with my ex-wife, and so, yeah, probably.
And on that particular day, by the way, you had not read any meters in the neighborhood?
In that in that neighborhood, no, sir.
You just went straight to the site where the remains were found?
No, I went into the woods to relieve myself.
Do you remember talking also to the detectives about the issue of the reward that you were looking for?
We were discussing the crime line tip, sir. We weren't talking about the other one, sir.
Okay. You were joking, you say, with Alex Roberts and the others about finding this body?
No, we were joking about the money, sir. I never joked about finding the body, sir. That's not what I said.
And is that after the discovery, the time that you and Mr. Dean or others were arguing about whose idea it was first?
Once again, sir, you've completely lost me. Are we discussing August or are we discussing December?
No, I'm talking now about after the body has been found. Did you have any "I told you so" conversations?
No, sir.
Okay. And since you raised it going back to August 11th, Mr. Dean, were you real clear with him that you said you found a skull in there?
I told him what I saw, something that appeared to be that.
And did you all have a conversation about that would be a good place to dump a body?
I believe so.
Did you tell Mr. Dean that that'd be a good place to dump the body and nobody would smell it? Words to that effect?
Words to that effect.
And in August, when you first found the body, the whole area was dry enough to walk around in, was it? The area where you went?
I never discovered a body in August. And no, I stated before and I state again that in August it was in water.
Was it dry enough for you to walk around there and not get wet anything?
When?
In August?
No, sir. I never walked in that area, sir.
Where you found the skull?
No, sir.
Did you, I mean, I think I'm understanding. You're telling me now that you completely deny making a phone call to your son at all in November?
My son was mistaken about that phone call. That phone call never happened.
You deny, I've already asked you this, and so it's just a predicate. You deny the call, deny telling him that you were going to be on TV, and further saying that would be tomorrow?
No, sir. What I told him is I called him on December 11th. And I told him on December 11th that I had found something and that if he looked on television that night, he'd be able to see me for the first time since he was 8 years old. I never denied making that phone call, sir.
You remember also talking to Kathleen, I think it's Kethlin, Kutcher, Cutcher, from the Sheriff's Department?
Name doesn't ring a bell, sir.
You don't remember any conversation at all with that person?
I told you I don't remember the name, sir.
You say there was a woman there, though, with Deputy Kane.
Yes. Yeah, I alluded to that earlier, sir.
You remember talking with Deputy Melich about your whole history in August of what you did when you went to the bathroom and what you found and so forth? Did you ever talk to him later about that, Detective Melich?
Well, I never technically found anything. I saw something that looked like a skull. You're making it sound like I was standing over top of it. That never happened.
Well, this is the same skull you told us a little while ago that you were 100% certain was a skull.
Right, but I also said I did not know what it was made of because I never got any closer to it in August than maybe, as you said, on the 13th of 8 feet. I never stood over top of that, sir.
Were you instructed by anybody to not talk about the August reports and finding?
No, sir.
All right. Your Honor, I have a few minutes here. In fact, a recess for a few minutes.
Okay, we'll take a, you want the short one or your special one? Always special? Okay, we'll take a recess to 1:45. Mr. Mason, you may continue,
All
sir.
right, Mr. Kronk, I want to direct your attention to some different categories now, and we'll explore those. Did you say that you had no contact with your son, Brandon Sparks, for a long period of time, or you just didn't make the call in November?
The phone call that my son is talking about never happened.
Now, how frequently, if at all, did you talk with your son during the period of time between August and December of 2008?
I believe I talked to him a total of about maybe 12 or 15 times.
Okay. And were you calling him or him calling you or both?
Both, sir.
What, did you call him on a cell phone?
Yes, sir.
What was the number you called?
I have no idea.
And what was the number you called from?
My phone number,
Which was?
321-987-6542.
Say it again, 321 what?
987-6542.
You have no idea the number of Brandon Sparks that you called.
That's why I put it in memory, sir. I don't really pay attention to those things.
And sir, on any of those conversations that you have, did you tell him that you were going to be famous?
I don't believe so.
Did you at any time tell him you were going to be rich?
No, sir.
Any words to that effect at all? You were going to make money?
Not really, no, sir.
Not really. Does not really mean yes?
We were talking about when he got out of the Coast Guard, possibly him and I possibly going into business together, but other than that, not really.
By the way, did you talk to any of the detectives about you needing money yourself?
No, sir.
Did you make a comment to any of the detectives that Roy has to eat too?
No, sir.
You remember, sir, on January the 6th of 2009, giving a sworn statement to Detective Yuri Melich, Corporal Eric Edwards, and with your attorney, Mr. Evans, present?
Yes, sir.
I direct court and counsel to Bates stamp 5633, page 24. Did you engage in a conversation with Detective Melich in general about you needing money but wanting to stay out of the media and so forth?
We discussed several things. That's very possible.
And did you talk with the detectives about you keeping a low profile?
Yes, sir.
At that same time and place, did you tell them, oh, Roy has to eat too?
Jokingly, I probably did.
Jokingly on line 17. Roy has to eat too.
Yes, sir.
Now, did you have occasion to engage in conversation with the detectives about your story changing in any regard about what you found and how you found it on December the 11th?
Yes, sir. I told him that once I had a chance to think about it, I realized that I had made a mistake in my original statement.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
Show you what has been marked, sir, as defense exhibit for identification FM.
Mm-hmm.
You recognize that statement?
Yes, sir.
Is that your handwriting?
Yes, sir.
What's the date of it?
December 11th.
Offer this in evidence.
That's right, please.
Sustained.
Mr. Kronk, did you tell the detective in your statement on that day anything about the bag that you poked with a stick?
Yes, sir.
Did you tell them that the bag opened and a small human skull, with duct tape and hair still on it, dropped out?
Yes, sir. That was my original statement.
You did not tell them in that statement that you had lifted the bag, did you?
I really don't remember.
Did you, in fact, lift the bag
Yes, sir.
about 4 feet off the ground?
It was arm length straight out. Yes, sir.
Arms length standing?
Yes, sir.
You did not put that in any of your statements, did you?
No, sir.
And you didn't put in your statement about sticking your meter reader stick into the eye socket of the skull and lifting it, did you?
No, sir.
And do you remember in your conversations with Detective Melich being asked essentially if you had told them everything and if there's anything important you needed to add?
We had a verbal conversation where I mentioned those things. I just neglected to write them down.
neglected to write them down. You neglected to tell them too, didn't you?
No, sir.
Isn't it true that the first time, sir, that you ever mentioned using your meter reader stick to lift that skull was when you were answering questions at a deposition conducted by Mr. Baez and myself?
I honestly do not remember, sir. I remember when I was with you all, but before that, I really don't remember.
Is it true that in fact you lifted the bag as you just demonstrated your arm out in front of you, roughly 4 feet or more off the ground?
Yes, sir.
And is it true that when you did that, the skull dropped out, rolled out of the bag?
No, sir.
What happened?
I told you I made a mistake on my first statement.
Forget the statement. What's the truth?
The
You
truth?
lifted the bag.
I lifted, yes, sir, I did.
Did the skull pop out?
No, sir.
Did it roll out?
No, sir.
Did it come out in any way?
No, sir.
But is it the truth that you lifted the skull with your stick?
When the bag was no longer on top of it, yes.
After you moved the bag?
Yes, sir, I've never denied that.
After you moved the skull?
I gently lifted the front of the skull up. I never intended to move it. I didn't even know what it was at that time, sir. Had I known, I never would even have done that.
So, is today's version the skull rolled out of the bag or did not roll out of the bag?
It did not roll out of the bag, sir.
You recognize that you said that before under oath, but now you're saying that was a mistake?
Objection, Your Honor, that's not what the statement says.
Well,
Let me see the statement.
yeah, hang on just a second, Your Honor. I'll see if I can find that. Apologize for having to look this up. There's so many statements by this witness. Your December the 11th statement, when you said it dropped out. You remember that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you ever say that it rolled out?
That whole period for me is kind of a little fuzzy. I mean, once again, after finding what I found, it really unnerved me. And so I just kind of remember going back up to my truck.
Okay. So as we sit here today, whatever this date is, and I think it's still June 2011, did the skull present itself lying there before you lifted the bag on December the 11th? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So you lifted the bag just to see what was in the bag?
Yes, sir.
And then you see the skull, and then you lift it?
Held the bag out. After like the third shake, the contents of the bag shifted. And I looked down at my feet, and that's when I discovered the skull, that basically at my feet.
When you were holding the bag up, that was 4 feet or so off the ground, sir, did anything fall out of it?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Do you know how many statements you gave to law enforcement in connection with this case, sir?
No idea, sir.
Between handwritten statements, interviews, depositions,
No idea, sir.
and all that period of time from December the 11th until you were in the second phase of your deposition, you're telling us you never told anybody about putting the meter stick in the skull and lifting.
I believe I did. I believe I even mentioned that in my ABC interview.
Do you remember at any time discussing with Detective Melich or others, in fact, that you had called back in August to alert the sheriff's department to you having found this vinyl-like bag in the woods with a skull?
I told them that I had made a crime line tip. Yes, sir.
Did you have discussions at that time about, Roy, you need to keep that a secret? Don't tell anybody?
What aspect are you talking about?
When you were talking to Detective Melich about the fact, when you're talking in December with him and in January, that you had called back in August to report this?
Who are you referring to, sir? The police, or who are you referring to?
Any of them? Detective Melich,
No, sir.
Detective Allen,
No, sir.
any of them at all?
No, sir.
Ones at the scene on December the 11th that came out there and talked with you after you made the more formal discovery?
Once again, you've completely lost me.
Did you, listen, at any time did you tell the law enforcement officers that you had called back in August and as a result were told, don't say anything about that?
You're not being specific enough. Please specify what you're talking about.
Mr. Kronk, very careful, sir. Did you ever have a conversation with any of the law enforcement people in connection with this case in which you were instructed, told, or otherwise suggested to not talk about your earlier reports in August?
To the police?
Yes.
No, sir.
And were you remember a conversation about you, as we said earlier, keeping a low profile and keeping out of the public?
Yes, sir.
And at that time, sir, did you have any conversation about not telling the world?
Sustain.
Okay. I have just a minute, Your Honor.
You may.
Mr. Kronk, you have a computer?
Yes, sir.
Did you have a computer in the relevant times, the summer of 2008?
Yes, sir.
Were any of your computer records requested by law enforcement?
No, sir.
Any searches, so far you know, ever made on your computer?
Not that I know of, sir.
Now, one other thing I want to talk to you about. On December the 11th, after you found these remains, had you been working the day before?
No, sir.
You had the day off, in fact?
Yes, sir.
And was there a special purpose why you had the day off?
Yes, sir.
What was it?
The clutch went out of my vehicle.
You had to have car repairs?
Yes, sir.
And sir, did you have a need for some money on that day, the 10th of December?
Yes, sir.
Over $1,000 you needed for truck repairs?
Yes, sir.
And on that date, do you recall saying specifically on that date anything to your son or anybody else about needing money?
I might have mentioned it to him, but I don't remember specifically, sir.
And it's the very next day, December the 11th, that you go back to Suburban and you make this find.
Yes, sir.
You may. I want to show you what has been marked for identification as Defense Exhibit FN. Ask you if you recognize it, sir.
This is the bill for my car to be repaired, sir.
Is that a true and accurate copy of the bill you got for your repairs on your truck on December the 10th?
Yes, sir.
I'll offer this next exhibit in evidence, Your Honor.
What says the state of Florida?
No objection.
You received an evidence as defense exhibit numbered.
Number 70.
That's all the questions I have at this time, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
Cross-examination?
Good afternoon, Mr. Kronk.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Do you know Casey Anthony?
No, ma'am.
Do you know Lee Anthony?
No, ma'am.
George Anthony?
No, ma'am.
Cindy Anthony?
No, ma'am.
How about some investigators by the name of Dominic Casey or Jim Hoover?
No, ma'am.
Know those guys?
No, ma'am.
Okay. As a matter of fact, you're not even from Orlando, except for recently, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you don't even live in Orange County, you live in St. Cloud, which is in Osceola County near Kissimmee.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When did you move to Florida?
Like August, no, it was August 1st or 2nd of 7.
2007?
Yes, ma'am.
And you testified already that you got this job working for Orange County Utilities at the end of May of 2008.
Yes, ma'am.
You underwent a period of training with Orange County.
Yes, ma'am.
As far as neighborhoods in Orange County, since you weren't from here and didn't live here, how did you even become familiar with these places where you needed to be?
I had a GPS, ma'am.
Okay. So when you got your assignments on a daily basis to go read meters in someone's neighborhood, you had to put the coordinates or whatever into a GPS so you knew where to go.
Yes, ma'am.
Finally, after a period of training, you were allowed to go out and about in Orange County and read the meters on people's houses.
Yes, ma'am.
And it wasn't until August 11th of 2008 that you ended up being assigned a route that included the Anthony's house on Hope Spring Drive.
Yes, ma'am.
You read their meter that day?
Yes, ma'am.
Would that have been the first time you were ever even in their neighborhood?
One time before, when I was training with David Dean, we happened to be in that area and he drove me by the house. So that was actually the first time I was ever there, so.
Okay. And aside from that, and reading their meter on August 11th, the only other time you said you were responsible for reading meters in that neighborhood in November,
Yes, ma'am.
and then December 11th of 2008, they would have been on your route.
Yes, ma'am.
As far as August 11th goes, and I want to make sure we have this chronology down correctly. So if I say something wrong, correct me.
Yes, ma'am.
August 11th, you finish your route, and then in the afternoon, co-workers of yours meet with you on Suburban Drive before you all head back to the office on Curry Ford Road,
Yes, ma'am.
correct?
What happened was that, like I said before, that's like a 3 neighborhood route. And the last part of that route is like right, if you're heading, I guess, southerly, there's like a little neighborhood that goes down and it's just like a little street that elbows out and comes back up. I was almost finished with, the second part of the route when David with the new trainee, Chris, came by and said, "What do you got left?" And I said, "Well, I've got this." And they said, "Okay, well, just finish what you've got. We'll go do that for you." And then there's a shady area down between, before you get to the school, and just meet us there. And then, of course, they just give me the numbers and I just punch them in my handheld.
All right.
So,
Because, of course, in August in Orlando, it's hot as blazes,
yes, ma'am.
right? So you guys kind of help each other out, finish each other's routes so that you all can be done for the day because you start at 7:30 in the morning?
Yes, ma'am. We got in before at 6:30. We were out by 7. And obviously, when you're doing an area, you have easy routes and hard routes. And whoever gets done first will always go find the people that are still out there because it's just brutal this time of year to be out there and doing that kind of work. So,
Okay. And you're walking the neighborhoods all day long in that heat?
yes, ma'am.
Okay. So at the end of, or close to the end of what would be a normal shift on August 11th, you and these other guys are stopped on Suburban.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. This is when you have to relieve yourself in the woods.
Yes, ma'am.
And when you are in there, you look around
Yes,
and
ma'am.
see something as you've described to the 911 operator ultimately, or the non-emergency line individual, that you thought was suspicious.
Yes, ma'am.
You come back out of the woods, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
After you relieved yourself, made this observation. The other guys who worked for Orange County Utilities are there, and you make some reference to the fact that you saw something suspicious in the woods to Mr. Dean, correct?
Yes, ma'am. They were still at their truck, and I was walking towards that area, and I had stopped, and all of a sudden, both of them started screaming, excuse my expression, like little girls. And I'm like, what?
About this snake.
And I looked down, and there was a dead rattlesnake next to my foot.
Okay. So then, as you've already told us, everyone gets all excited about the snake, loads it up in the car, and
Yes, ma'am.
goes off and acts silly about it. Okay. So that's your last discussion with those guys out there about what you saw or thought you saw at that point in time in the woods off of Suburban,
Yes, ma'am.
correct? Okay. That day, you described to the 911 operator that on both sides of Suburban, it's a swamp. Is that because it's all, or was all wet in through there?
Yes, ma'am.
You also indicated at some point that you were looking down on something. Is that because the street level of Suburban goes out for a bit and then drops off into like a bowl? There's
Yes,
kind
but
of
when
like
you're
a bowl
coming,
there?
excuse me for interrupting you, I'm sorry. There's a grassy area, and then there's like this veil of vines and all that at that time, and then it immediately slopes down into a lower area. And that's where all the water was collected and the debris and everything else.
All right, so where it slopes and then is lower than street level, was that full water?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, on August 11th.
Yes, ma'am.
You eventually go home that evening. You indicated that you had a discussion about the observation that you had with your roommate after 9 o'clock. That night is when you make that first call that we heard, correct?
Yes, ma'am. I was not allowed to interrupt her while she was watching television, so I had to wait until 9.
Okay. So you're at your residence in St. Cloud, which is in Osceola County, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So you find a number for Orange County non-emergency?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And somehow, in that process, you get transferred over to what sounds like a 911 line. They ask you what your emergency is, don't they?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then, of course, what you said to them has been recorded, and we heard. Did they ask you at 9 o'clock at night to go meet them somewhere that's not on this recording?
No, ma'am.
Did you have some expectation that you were going to leave your house in St. Cloud that night in the dark and go try to explain where this was and what you saw?
No, ma'am.
All right. So you gave them that information, and then what they did with it was up to them.
Yes, ma'am.
The next day, you call again with the same information.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct? And this is also after 9 o'clock.
Yes, ma'am.
And at that point in time, did you have some expectation that you were going to leave your house? Were you in your house in St. Cloud?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have some expectation that you were going to leave your house and travel to Suburban Drive after 9 o'clock at night in the dark and meet with a deputy and explain exactly where along Suburban you were talking about?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So you call Crime Line, excuse me, you call Crime Line that same night,
Yes, ma'am.
second day, give them information, and then on the 13th, after work, while it's still light out,
Yes, ma'am.
you call from the location wanting a deputy to meet you there so you can tell him or her, whoever arrives, what you saw and where it was.
Yes, ma'am.
So you can be specific.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And this is the event that you've already described for the jury, where a deputy from the Orange County Sheriff's Office, a male deputy with a female, meet with you.
Yes, ma'am.
It's the male that goes down that slope that you talked about.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you said that he just did a cursory sort of looking around, didn't do much of anything,
Yes, ma'am.
and then proceeded to either argue with you or berate you about why you were wasting his time or the county's time.
Yes, he was berating me.
Okay. The female stayed up on the road, didn't
Yes, ma'am.
she? Did you stay up on the, I guess for lack of a better word, the berm, or did you go down into that lower area where this deputy went?
I stayed on the grassy area, ma'am.
Up higher?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what you could see at that point was that he spent next to no time looking around, came out, slipped, fell, got annoyed.
Yes, ma'am.
And you didn't like that.
No, ma'am.
So he says there's nothing there, you leave.
Yes, ma'am.
And because of how you were treated, you let the matter go.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Aside from your work responsibilities, had you ever been at the Anthony house?
No, ma'am.
Let me ask you this first. Mr. Mason talked about your needing money on December 10th
Yes,
because
ma'am.
you had a clutch go out in your car.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you have needed money in June or July or August, September, October, November 2008 for other reasons?
Yes, ma'am.
So aside from your work responsibilities, you've never even been near their home, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You've never had any access to Caylee Anthony's Pontiac Sunfire, I take it.
No, ma'am.
You've never had any access to the garage of the Anthony family residence, I take it.
Overruled.
Have
No,
you
ma'am.
ever had access to the home of the Anthony family?
Other than the meter in their front yard, no, ma'am.
Okay. And when you read their meter on August 11th of 2008, well, there were a bunch of people around, weren't there?
Directly across the street, there was tons of media there.
Okay. You've never had access to the inside of their home, I take it.
No, ma'am.
You've never had access to their backyard.
No, ma'am.
You've never had any access to their computer.
Objection, none of this has anything to do with the direct examination of this man.
Overruled.
You've never had any access to the computer in the Anthony family residence, I take it.
No, ma'am.
You've never had access to any of Caylee Anthony's clothing, I take it.
No, ma'am.
You've never had any access to Caylee Anthony's diapers or pull-ups or underwear, anything like that.
No, ma'am.
You've never had access to any of the laundry bags that may be in the Anthony home or were at one time, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You never had access to any of the garbage bags in the Anthony home, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Never had access to any of Caylee Anthony's blankets, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And never had access to any of the duct tape in the Anthony family home, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Redirect. May the witness be excused. Witness is excused.